Hi, my name's Mike Cooperis. Thanks for being here. Today I'm going to present on Cambridge autogenous vaccines and our two-in-one vaccine delivery system called Solidose. I've got about 7 minutes to present, so I want to stick to three main topics today. Number one, I want to talk about the value of only having to send your cattle through the chute one time versus two. Second, I want to talk about precision vaccinology, which is just our process for creating an autogenous vaccine. And third, I want to talk about the importance of using two doses versus one to create an immune response in those animals. To get started, I thought it would be helpful to just give you an animation to put a visual in your mind as we move through the presentation. So this is our solid doser, or the actual device that you use. We do a subcutaneous or under the skin injection, and you can see here there's two sets of pellets coming out. The blue set, is the immediate release pellets. They send antigens or the vaccine into the animal upon contact with moisture. And the second set is designed to slow release the antigens over a 2 to 3 week period, which gives that prolonged exposure, which helps to increase the immunity. Right here, you're just looking at the packaging of the animal. So now that you've got that mental picture, we can move on to the first topic of the discussion, which is the time and labor savings. Um, One of the questions that we used to get a lot was, is it absolutely necessary to do that second booster shot? The short answer to that question is yes, it is. Effective vaccines do require the booster shot in order to be efficacious, but we can certainly understand why we get that question. It's expensive. Average labor cost for producers, your customers, is $22 an hour. And we know that the average vaccination rate is about 7 head or 7 cattle per hour that go through that chute. So that works out to a little more than $3 per head, just in labor costs. And that's just about what the vaccine itself costs. So the concerns are very valid, and that's why we've developed the solution, which I just demonstrated to you, the solid dose solution. So you can get both the first and the second dose into the animal in that first trip through the chute. It saves your customers money, but it also creates a lot less stress on the animals, and it allows your customers to get their cattle out to pasture sooner, which helps them gain more weight, which is the name of the game for them. So now that we know how it works, we can talk a little bit about what actually goes into those pellets, and that brings us to topic number two: precision vaccinology. So precision vaccinology is just our process. It's really next generation diagnostics. It starts with sampling. We can send you a free shipping box with nasal swabs and other types of sampling devices. If you're, let's say we're using bovine respiratory disease as an example. If you see an animal that's exhibiting acute signs of pneumonia, you could take one of our nasal swabs, you just rub it up the nostril there, you get a sample, you put it in our pre-packaged material and send it to our diagnostic lab. From there, we move to the identify and isolate stage. We use a number of tests, PCR tests, to identify the presence of certain bacteria or viruses in that stage. Once we've identified what's in those samples, we can try to isolate those organisms, and we use those organisms to actually build your vaccine. But before we do that, we go to the third stage here, which is the compare and select stage. This is where we use genetic tools, multi-locus sequencing typing. This really gives us a look at the genetic diversity of these different isolates that we're able to get. It allows us to give you a broader spectrum vaccine in the end, because we're able to pick and choose the right isolates to use in those vaccines. There's other companies that are out there doing this. We know that. There's other companies that are using custom vaccines and using this approach. And you maybe have even seen that there's a one-dose vaccine out there right now. However, there is a pretty big difference, which leads us to a third point. 2 doses is better than one. Last year, Iowa State released a paper. They did a study where they took a similar one-dose product, except this one dose, instead of having a time release, they had an enhanced adjuvant. So they put this through a test with 200 cattle. Of the 101 cattle that received this vaccine, less than 1% demonstrated protection from the disease when they were challenged. Outside of that, they noted that there was no weight gain benefits in this study. So why did this happen? We think we have an answer, and it's because of primary response and secondary response immunity. When a host animal is exposed to a pathogen, or in our case, a vaccine, they produce memory cells. These are B cells and T cells that look for invaders in the body, and those are the cells that create antibodies. So this blue line here represents antibody production within the animals, and you can see here in this primary response, or the first dose, you get a short spike early on, but then it wanes pretty quickly. In this area is where the B cells and the T cells are actually being reproduced. And once they see that same antigen or that same vaccine a second time, that's where they really start, sorry, I lost my cursor. They really start to boost the antibody production up here in this range. And you can see from this graph that it lasts quite a bit longer, up to 180 days. So that's it for my slides. In conclusion, I would just like to say I hope that this presentation was helpful, and I hope that we saw that there's value in using of being able to put your cattle through the chute one time versus two. Two, that you were able to see the value of precision vaccinology and choosing the right isolates for your vaccine. And three, most importantly, the importance of 2 doses versus 1 in creating an immune response. In fact, if you leave here with any message, hopefully it's very simple and you can remember it. 2 doses is better than 1. Thank you and have a good day.